Next big topic is the Cardinal Concierge Services.
Okay.
So what we did with Cardinal Concierge Services is this. When you were selling and when I was selling, we had assistants, right? You know, and great, you have an assistant. Way to brag, Donnie. It's not about that. It's about the only way that you can get from 2 or 3 or 5 million to 10 million to 20 million to 30 million is with admin help. You know, because if you spend all your time in the mud doing all the little stuff and you spend all day putting together a bright listing and a brochure, your brain is not freed up to go get the next deal or be able to serve your clients, you know, better on the phone or better through email or going to have coffee with clients or do all these activities being out and getting the next transaction and the next partner and going to the 2 listing appointments or going to make that buyer appointment. All the things that you could be better spending your time on and not the paperwork.
And let's face it, you have a finite amount of energy every day. And if you spend 2 or 3 hours doing brochures and entering listings in the MLS, that takes a lot of energy out of you.
You have a finite amount of 3 things really: time, money, and energy.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're spending all your time and energy on things that aren't as productive, you know, spend a little bit of your money on that so you can go spend your time and energy on stuff that'll make you more money. You know, and I think that
join a couple clubs, spend time with those.
Exactly. So what the idea was behind this is this. With the concierge services, a lot of people can't jump in and pay a full-time assistant 50 grand a year or 25 grand a year to split one or something like that. So we wanted to create the ability for our realtors to have in-house assistants on a transaction by transaction basis. You know, so maybe you only do 8 transactions. So you don't want to write a check for 25 grand. But if you have the ability to have assistance when you need it, it helps people out more. So we have 2 sets of Cardinal Concierge Services. We've got our listing marketing services. So those specialists help you to launch a listing. You know, they're going to put your listing on Bright. They're going to put together your brochure, your postcards, your you know, just Facebook. Sold, just open house, Facebook, or just sold, just listed open house, all any kind of postcards you want to do. All your Facebook ads, make sure they do the digital portions of it. So they're going to handle, make sure it looks good on all the websites. They're going to handle everything from beginning to end and make sure the listing launches and looks great on the listing marketing end.
How much is that?
So it's either $150 or $250, depending on all the services that you want. The coolest part about that $150 or $250 is that you can pay for it at closing, you know, which people love. You know, instead of having to pay the $150 right now out of their pocket or $250, you miss it a lot less when it comes out of your $10,000 check at closing when you sell that listing. So $150 or $250 for the Cardinal services. We have, right now, I think it's 18 or 20 people that are trained up in the listing marketing package services. All the admins at a lot of our major offices all around the area are trained up to help in these things so that you can either work with the people back at headquarters that work on it. We've got 3 of each service back at Chantilly, or we have all the people in the individual offices. So if you want to walk in and say you work in Columbia, well, I want to work with the admin assistant that's in Columbia because I can see her face-to-face or I can see him face-to-face. Well, great. Then you work with the person in Columbia. They're trained up. They can do your packages there. So the listing marketing package is the first half of it.
And Donnie, let me just, because if the listing doesn't sell, I know some people think if the listing doesn't sell, then we'll get it on the next listing.
Yeah,
right?
We'll attach it later to your bill.
Yeah.
You know, so you give us the $150 later. Eventually, you're going to sell that house, hopefully. Well, hopefully,
or another one.
Or another one. Transaction coordination is the second one. So transaction coordinator. So what I did is I went around. I got 7 different transaction coordinators and what they did and what they charged. And the average was anywhere from $350 to $450 a pop for transaction coordination in the industry. And a lot of you guys have probably seen similar results. So I took that, came up with a list of what we wanted our transaction coordinators to do.
It's a long list.
And it's like 22 or 23 items. So they've got all these things that they do. And basically they work as your assistant from contract to closing to make sure that the listing goes successfully. We charge our agents only $150 a pop. So $150, so less than half, really a half to a third of the going rate on the market out there because, look, do we lose money on that? Absolutely. But we think we're gaining in the long run because agents are becoming much more efficient. They're happier. They're getting their deals done. They're getting more referrals. And they're consistently happier. They're consistently more productive if they're using these services.
Retention.
Yeah, so
retention.
So $150 a pop, and again, we can pay for it at closing, which is so cool because now you can have an assistant to launch your listing, have an assistant to be your TC from contract to closing, charge me $300-400 at closing, whatever package you decide to do, and you don't miss it out of your $10,000 at closing because you were just so happy that you had somebody holding your hand doing all this paperwork from beginning to end. You didn't have to pay somebody 25 grand a year, pay them $400 the 10 times a year you needed it. It cost $4,000, and you had a full-time assistant you've got a team now of people helping you to serve your clients better, which
and
is
they
phenomenal.
get to know each other when they're doing everything. They get to know each other really, really good. You get the same person every time they're doing the same thing. But one of the things I love most about it, well, two things. One, the first thing I want to mention, Donnie, is that I always held so true when you said this to the realtors. When you're a listing agent, there's 30 or 40 different things you can do. And if nobody's watching you, you might skip 5 or 10 of those things because the seller doesn't know, right? Seller doesn't know if you don't do this or you don't do that. Well, by hiring the listing marketing specialist, they're going to do every one, all 30 of these, and the other 8 or 10 things that you wouldn't have that you may have skipped. Those are the things that bring you the leads. Those are the you know, the assistant's going to do everything and make sure it's all done every time. That's going to draw in every possible lead off of that list.
I want to add to that, but I don't want you to forget your second one. Are you going to remember it if I jump in?
And then I'll try to remember my second.
And I'll try to remember. Well, it was never more evident to me than when my assistant had two babies during our time, when she went on maternity leave. And the key was, okay, I knew the 24 things I was supposed to do on my list, but I was just trying to get by. So I knew that it was like, I can get by with 10 of them, you know. I know, but who was I shortchanging? Maybe the seller a little bit, but really myself. Because if I didn't do the postcards or the ads the right way or the Facebook ads, the things to get more marketing from it, I was shortchanging myself to get that next deal. You know, so yeah, I did enough to market this house probably, but it's the deals you don't get in the future because you're not doing all the things you know you should be doing every transaction. So when she came back, I was very thankful because not only did I not have to do all these things, but I was going to get much more business because she was doing all of them again.
And retention. One thing we felt is that if you have a hitter and they're in there and they've gotten to know one of these assistants and they're doing all that stuff for them really good, they're not going anywhere. This is their assistant. They do that person knows everything about what they do.
Right.
That agent will never, ever, ever leave you. That assistant is more important to them than, quite honestly, the broker at the end of the day.
Well,
because
and at a cheap cost.
Yes.
Because, yeah, you could maybe find another TC and you could maybe find another assistant or listing marketing specialist, but now you're either going to have to, if they went somewhere else, they're going to have to either outlay 25, 50 grand to pay half or full-time for an assistant, or if they pay per transaction, you're not getting this work done for less than $300 or $400 on the front end, $300 or $400 on the back end. Now you're saving them, you know, you're getting to them at less than half the cost, you know, so be able to use our services. Not only do they get great service that's all tied in and knowing the Samson ecosystem and knows how to use our stuff, but
knows how to use our stuff.
Right, but they're getting it at less than half the cost they could out. So yeah, yes, they could always leave and go, well, I'll hire somebody else. Yeah, but they got to take that into consideration if they're going to all of a sudden have to outlay 5, 10, 15, 20 grand more to get the same work assistant done that they can through our
and they don't have access
services.
to all the beautiful pricing on all the stuff that we're offering.
Absolutely. You know, so
it all ties in, and what it does is it makes the realtors really, really happy. And what they do is go tell their other hitter friends that you got to do this. Not only is he saving me 30, 40, 50 grand in commission splits, printing costs, assistance, all these things Donnie's going through. This is huge for these people. I mean, they really, really, this is how all the recruiting has been happening. That's why so many people are joining us, because we've specialized in all these things.
Yep. So the Cardinal Concierge services are awesome. They're another big staple of our company. They're a staple that people can plug into right away. If you're a broker owner right now and you have an admin or a receptionist at your current office that you're paying money to, that's fine. A lot of times, I don't make any promises because we have to talk individually, but a lot of times we can convert them into the admin roles that we have here with our receptionists, teach them how to do these things. Your agents already love your admin or your receptionist at your desk. I don't want to put them out of a job. I want them to be even more productive so they can be our receptionist for you all, work on packages, work TC work, and if we need to hire a second one for your office, then we hire a second one, or we outshift some of the work back to Chantilly if we have an overflow. So we found that we can keep the current personnel in place, hopefully, if they can get trained up on our stuff. We've got great training for our TCs and our listing marketing specialists, and it's a great way to make those admins more productive in the office, be able to help people. So we bring them to Chantilly. We teach them not only this work, but also everything about our nest, everything about our services. So now they are the legs out there that can help on a one-on-one basis for all your agents in the offices when they've got certain questions or they need to know how to do this or how to do that. Well, your admin now is trained up in everything Samson, so the admin is kind of the helper for the whole office. So you don't have to roll up your sleeves and help every single person with dot loop or Cardinal Nest or whatever it is that they need help with.
Yeah, because there's so many different things. It's wonderful, but it's great to have somebody there who's kind of been taught up on all of it, who can also help the broker and teaching all the agents, like you just said. It's a great help for the brokers.
Absolutely. So that's the key there. So that's all of our Cardinal Concierge services. We think they're we think they're a good staple. We think we're here to stay. We hope to even grow it and have, 30, 40, 50, 60 of them as we continue to grow.
And the agents love paying for the settlement, don't they?
Yes.
Boy, they love that
I always get a cheer when I talk about that part at the lunch and learn.
Yeah, man.
Because you just, to outlay a couple $100 out front, after you're paying for photographers and this and that to get the lunch to go, and it's another big thing maybe people are more hesitant about. But if they say, look, it's going to come out of your $8,000 or $10,000 or $12,000 commission, they're less likely to be like, okay, well, that's fine. Like, I'd rather pay you 2% of my commission at the end of the day and have an assistant than I would, pay the stuff up front. So
yeah, it's a piece by piece.
Yeah, I mean, you look at
this month I got 4, great, but next I might not have another one for a month or two.
Well, when you look at it, you get a $10,000 commission, okay, right? Let's just say that's the average commission is $10,000. And say you got both services and you paid $400 because you paid for, all the complete package from beginning to end. $400, what's that, 4% of your commission? You hear people sometimes like, well, my company provides all this concierge services, but I'm on a 70-30 split. Okay, well, how about I let you pick when you want the concierge services on the listings and the buyers that you want help with? And even if you use them to the greatest extent that you have, we're going to take 4% of your commission to pay the concierge at the end of the day. That seems like a pretty good deal to me. So I'd rather have you pick and choose when you use it than just take 20% out and say, well, look, we provide this. No, don't do that. Pay for it when you want, and even if you use all of it, it's like 4%.
Well, and it's even less than that. You got $1 million listing, 3%. You're making $30,000. Now you're talking about
a lot less percent.
1.5%.
1.5%, right? So even if on the average, and really you're talking about most times you're going to use it. Say it's a $600,000 listing. So I'm probably shortchanging it because maybe it's $12 or $15 or $20,000 commission, and $400 is more like 2%. So even in a worst case scenario where $10,000 is a good commission, but that's 4%. And you're going to pay less than that on most of these deals. And I would much rather have 100% of my commission and use the assistants when I want to and pay 1%, 2%, 3% of my commission than have them paid for by the company. I get access to them, but I got to give you 20% of my commission. So that's where our whole thinking when we created these services was, let's not just charge people 5, 10, because we went through all these permutations. Well, what if we just charge everybody 5% off the top and we provide these or 10% off the top? No. How about we let you choose? It's your money, you choose, and when you want it, pay 1%, 2%, 3% of your commission, you get all the help you need.
Yeah. You want to do it yourself, save it, do it yourself and save it.
Right.
We'll provide all the materials for you. Do it yourself and save the money. But me, I'm going to have someone do all that stuff
exactly.
Because I'm going to go out and find the next piece of business.
Absolutely. You talk about all the hours that you're going to pay this person. Well, $400, you got to create that $10,000 deal. I mean, it's hundreds of hours that you're going to pay for an admin support to find one deal. Well, I'd rather go find one more deal than spend 100 hours doing admin work, myself and you.
Well, that's what it came to cutting grass. I remember I lost a new construction 20 years ago that would have made me $15,000, $20,000, and I missed it because I was out cutting the grass. That's the last time I cut the grass. I brought someone in for $35 for the rest of my life to cut my grass because I want to make sure I'm available all the time for my clients when they need me.
And it's the same theory, so it's not that. And again, we don't push this because we're making money on it.
No,
and that's the key where people, I think, really fall in love with that idea is because if it were something where I was like, use the concierge because it's in our pockets, no, we lose money every time people use it. But in the long run, it's going to make everybody more efficient, happier, more productive. And that's why we push it. And that's why we think, everybody should use it on every transaction.
And we think it'll help out with you for the capture rate of Cardinal Title. Again, it's all about trying to get that capture rate. And when they see all these cool things, and meanwhile, the assistant, she wants to use Cardinal too. So it kind of all works together beautifully. It really does.
Absolutely. So that's all the Cardinal Concierge services. So it kind of wraps up that section in a bow for you.